What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the What the Fun Show. Today we continue our favorite movie series with a special guest. Yes, that's right. We are including community favorite movies, and we want to invite you on the podcast. So if you have a favorite movie that you would love to come on the podcast and chat about, that would be awesome. I would love for you to reach out to us. But this first one, I decided to reach out to somebody because he's a staple at the What the Fun family, going all the way back to the 90s first. And today, Isaac is joining us from the Infinity Bros. He was on our very first episode. You know him, you love him, and we're talking about his favorite movie of all time. Isaac, how's it going today?
It's going great, guys. I am really excited to record with you about my favorite movie of all time. It's going to be a blast. It's crazy to think that I was on your guys' first episode. It seems so long ago now. Like,
it's been a while.
It's wild. You guys have come a long way, and I absolutely love all the content that you guys produce through your network, your podcasting network. So
thanks.
Keep up the good work.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. So, of course, joining me as well is Joe and Justin. Justin, how you doing?
Quack, quack, quack. The duck is swinging back. I'm doing good today.
All right, that's good. Joe, how you doing?
So punny. I'm doing great.
Oh, that's good. Yes, Isaac, what is your favorite movie of all time? Let's just get the cat out of the bag.
Yep. Favorite movie of all time is Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. And
awesome.
Man, yeah, watched this in the movie theater when it came out, and honestly was not like I love Spider-Man. I mean, you guys know this for sure, but all of your listeners, Spider-Man's my favorite superhero. Always has been. If you guys are listening to the audio version, I have a crap ton of Spider-Man memorabilia in the background here. And I was expecting to absolutely love this movie, but the level that it went to, I did not expect. Like, this is my overall favorite movie of all time. I think it's by far the best movie that has ever been created. So,
oh wow!
I'm excited to talk about it.
That's high praise. So let's get into it a little bit. That's high praise. All right, listeners, if you have not already, please leave us a review. Apple Podcasts is the best place to do it. Spotify, you could do it on the mobile app. 5 stars there. If you're on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. We would really appreciate it. On the road to 100 subscribers, we're only 2 away. So if you're hearing my voice, go subscribe. One? Oh, well, we're 1 away. Okay, cool. All right, so let's get there. But also hit the like button and comment down below what you think of Into the Spider-Verse, because you're going to get all our thoughts here today. A little bit of housekeeping for you. We do have our Best of Batman series continuing. Batman 1989 we reviewed the other day, so check out that episode. We'll have it linked down in the show notes. And then as well as our Dark Knight review should be coming out next week, along with the second in our Harry Potter franchise review. And always stay tuned for Test Your Might, our weekly video game debate show. Definitely go listen to that. It's all on the feed. All right, that's housekeeping for you guys. Let's get into some of the movie info here. Into the Spider-Verse. Directed by Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, Rodney Rothman, and then obviously the screenplay is written by Phil Lord and Rodney Rothman. Phil Lord, pretty famous for the Lego movie, so that's where he came from. Isaac, I don't know if you knew this, but this is based on Marvel Comics.
I had an inkling that
right.
It could be. So.
just wanted to make sure. This is starring Shameik Moore. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Jake Johnson, Haley Steinfeld, Mahershala Ali. That's hard to pronounce too.
Don't ask me to say that one because I've screwed his name up so many times.
He's going to be Blade in the MCU, so that's exciting. Brian Tyree Henry, Lily Tomlin. Shut up. You're fine. It's a character. Kamiko Glenn. Nicholas Cage shows up. John Mulaney. That's high praise.
High praise.
Anyway, distributed by Sony. Released December 1st it was the premiere, December 14th for everyone else. $90 million as a budget, and it grossed triple that almost. $384.3 million. So we're going to go to our guest first. Into the Spider-Verse, spoiler-free review, Isaac. What's your review? Spoiler-free, of course.
This movie is a groundbreaking animated film that really, honestly, has changed the course of animated films. And even if you're not a superhero person, if you're not super into that genre, I think this movie is a fantastic, just human film. And I would absolutely recommend this to everyone, all ages. I mean, it's kind of a kid's movie, but also there are so many themes in it that are for everybody to participate and to learn from. So, and again, best movie of all time. So,
again, high praise, but also I will second that. Sort of a pioneer moment for animated movies. Like, I think this movie, if you're into animated movies, this is an essential movie to watch. Not because it is Spider-Man, not because it is a great movie, but it is also a great animated movie. Joe, patent pending, spoiler-free review. Let's hear it.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are interested in Spider-Man, watch this film.
Great, thank you. Justin, your spoiler-free review.
I want to piggyback on everything that Isaac and Mike said, because this is groundbreaking in animation. And honestly, this is a movie, like Joe said, that has Spider-Man in it, spoiler. And if you're interested in Spider-Man, you should see it. This is probably my favorite, I've never said this before, but favorite superhero animated film ever made. This
superhero animated movie? Is that the clarification?
I did, yes, animated.
Okay, all right. Because I might second that as well.
Well, third in this point. But yes, I agree with Isaac in the fact that this was fundamentally changing animation as a style from this point forward. And it really cemented its way into our hearts almost instantly with the characters throughout.
All right, so a little bit of background in my spoiler-free review, a little bit of story time. I remember maybe about a year and a half ago, me and Isaac, our friendship was blossoming. We were on podcasts together and stuff like that. And I remember telling him that I think Homecoming is a better movie than Into the Spider-Verse. Do you remember this conversation?
Vaguely, yes. I think we've had multiple, because there are definitely other things that we've discussed as well. Yeah. But yeah, I do vaguely remember this conversation.
So, with that being said, it is strictly because of the villain. I think Michael Keaton's Vulture is better than the Kingpin in this movie. But here's a big but. Upon watching this again, I have changed my tune. I think that this is now the second best Spider-Man movie. After No Way Home. I think No Way Home tops it for me personally. But this movie is just so brilliant in its animated design, its villains, its sort of rogues gallery, the Sinister Six here in this movie. There's not 6 of them, I believe. Maybe there is 6 of them, but there's close to 6 of them. They're good. As Isaac already said, the human moments, like the touching human moments, are 100% authentic, and it's hard to drive home those human moments authentically in an animated movie, and this just blows it out of the water. Miles Morales is such a fun, awesome character to be the focal point of this. Sure, you have a bunch of Spideys. You even have Spider-Gwen. You have a Nicolas Cage Spider. Like, it's all over the place. But like, Miles is the focal point, and he just carries this movie so well. Into the Spider-Verse is tremendous. I highly recommend watching it. It is so good. So stay tuned for some spoiler stuff because we will be going to it. So if you have not seen Into the Spider-Verse, consider this your official spoiler warning. Hey, you.
What's that? What the?
What are you doing?
Who, me?
Do you want to be spoiled? No? Well then.
Stop it. Get some help.
So you don't feel like this guy. Instead, let it be a surprise.
Oh, I like surprises.
So go watch the thing before you move on in the podcast, okay?
Alrighty then.
All right, that has been your official spoiler warning. And so, we go into our favorite moments at this point. We talk about our favorite moments, and then we go through the overall plot. So, I'm not going to start with our guest. I'm going to start with Joe, because he had so little to say in his spoiler-free review. I want to hear a little bit more from him. What are some of your favorite moments in Into the Spider-Verse?
I love Miles's interaction between, like when he first gets bitten, in between him and Gwen Stacy, and then his roommate. It was a very real moment for me, like that awkward high school age era. I don't know how to interact with people. How do I make friends? I loved that bit. I'm so happy that they put this in the film because we've seen it before a few times with Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. He has that fun interaction between Ant-Man, Uncle Ben when he comes home and he's like sweaty and hungry and he's eating all of the food and grabs frozen lasagna and whatnot. And we saw it in Tobey Maguire Spider-Man before that. I think they did such a good job here. It was
you mean
one
when
of
he
my favorite
wakes
moments.
up when he wakes up with the 6-pack abs and he's like taller and he doesn't
Yeah,
have to wear
his
glasses?
pants don't fit. He pulls them on. He's like, huh? But specifically when he meets Gwen at school and he's like, oh, it's a puberty thing. And he's just like
So good.
awkwardly doesn't know how to handle the situation.
Oh, gosh.
It's are you really sweaty? It's a puberty thing. And like it's so good. It's such a great awkward interaction. It makes sense. It's high school. And, you know, it was a great origin for me. I really liked it.
What makes it even more hilarious is that his uncle Aaron like told him the night before how to interact with girls, and then like he's having these Spidey moments before he wants to do the hay thing, and he's just like completely flabbergasted at what is happening. Justin, shout out a favorite moment.
Hey. Pulling her hair off initially. Gwen and Miles here, he gets his hand stuck to her head. She has to shave her head off, side of her hair. One of my favorite, but I think my favorite moment is when they run into Aunt May. And she just knows what's up. And she's like a BA ant like in the Spider-Verse. It's great. I love it. Her character just makes me laugh every time I see it because it's just like, that's not what we grew up with technically, but it's kind of like a culmination of the new Spider-Man and the old Spider-Man rolled into one, but like thrown to 100. And she's just like the all-knowing Alfred in this situation.
And she's still alive.
The all-knowing Alfred.
Yeah. Pretty good. Spot on right there.
Yeah. I hear you. Isaac, favorite moment. And again, we're
gosh.
going around the horn, so just say one.
Are we talking like favorite moments, or are we just like a favorite moment?
Just a favorite moment. We'll go around the horn
Okay.
and still share
Okay.
some more. So.
All right. I think one of my favorite moments, and it's I don't even know if it's considered a moment, but like Chris Pine as Spider-Man in the first like 15 minutes of the movie actually just nails it. And it's such a different Spider-Man than we're used to seeing. Like in one sense, he's perfect. He's like and that's what he is the perfect Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
But we're used to seeing this Spider-Man who is not perfect. We're used to seeing a very relatable Spider-Man who has problems. And Chris Pine Spider-Man doesn't have any. Like, the dude is 26 years old. He's married. He's rich. He's got a spider hideout already, like with sweet tech and everything. And when Peter B. Parker comes into the picture, he sees all this and he's like, dang, like this guy had it all. And like that's one moment that like is so cool. And that's just like speaking to the whole movie, that they did such an incredible job at like making just these little variations in each spider person, making them still like Peter Parker or, kind of their main character, but at the same time, they're so different to their own person or their own character. But Chris Pine's Spider-Man is incredible. And I think that's a pretty overlooked part of the movie because he's only in the first, 15 minutes or whatever. But man, I absolutely loved his part in this movie for sure.
I think my favorite part about like that Spider-Man is just his reaction and surprise to there being another spider person in Miles Morales. Like I really love that moment. Like Peter, like that Peter A. Parker, so to speak, he's been doing it for years on his own. And I think you highlight one of the most important parts about this movie is that Spider-Man finally had the excitement that there was another Spider-Man in his world, and it was ripped away from him right away because he was killed right away.
Right.
And that is what was so powerful about that just initial story. I'll piggyback on that. Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker is my favorite character by far in this movie. I love all of the characters, but man, he just takes it up a notch. I love his sense of humor. He is amazing in New Girl. That's one of my favorite shows of all time. And him as Peter B. Parker is just so perfect because I know him from New Girl, and in New Girl as Nick, he is this lazy, chubby, doesn't have the girl type of person, and that is exactly who Peter P. Parker is. I said Peter P. Parker. Peter B. Parker is. He does not. There we go. He doesn't have Mary Jane in his world. He's an alcoholic. He maybe an alcoholic. He eats a lot of junk food.
Alcoholic vibes. Like
yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Very unhealthy personality.
Yeah, and then just like his introduction into the world, just so like how many times as a bigger person, how many times have I taken my shirt off and my belly flops out like that? Like it's just so relatable to Peter P. Parker. I keep saying it.
It's gonna be a struggle.
Anyway, I love the introduction of Peter B. Parker. He's amazing. I love Jake Johnson.
Before we move on, I want to say like Peter B. Parker is probably one of the best parts of this movie in my opinion. Like absolutely everything you're saying, I totally agree with. Jake Johnson was the perfect choice for this voice casting. 100%. He absolutely nails it. And relatable is the word that you said. I 100% relate to this Peter Parker. Like he's just weathered. He's like tired of it. He's just like, man, I just want to go home so I could get back to my life. Right. And I absolutely love everything about this. And we'll talk about my favorite moment a little bit later, later in the film. But he is the focal point of that because of his whole personality. So 100%. Absolutely love Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker.
Joe, another favorite part.
Ooh, another one. Gosh, I think the introduction of the other spider people was really fun. Aunt May bring him down into the little shed outside, and Peter B. Parker going, I have one of these too, and then like it opens up and it's like, mine's a little bit smaller and like more damp. I don't got any of this stuff. It seems this is a bit overstated. And then you get the intro. I love how they introduce each Spider-Man, how they do the story time one more time. All right. And here's my story, and here's my story. And they run. I loved that intro. I didn't get tired of it, even though they did it, 4 times, 5 times. Yeah. Like, not once was I tired of it. And then Nick Cage being Spider Noir, so that was just the cherry on top. I was like, okay, I'm sold on it. The wind follows me. Like,
Justin,
okay.
That's like my favorite line in the movie, dude. I absolutely love that. It's so funny.
Justin, you are our resident. I want another favorite moment from you, but also I want you to piggyback on that because you're our resident Nick Cage fan. What did you think of his portrayal as Spider-Man Noir?
Awesome. Perfect. The role when he said like, I just beat up Nazis all day and I like doing it. I was like, all right, man, this is it.
Drink egg creams and beat up Nazis.
Yeah. It was great. Yeah, he's perfect casting for Noir. He definitely plays a role in his voice with that bass. It really works well.
I love his like slight New York accent too. That he's just like this little detective, and yeah, it's just so good. All right, Justin, another favorite moment.
Not like Miles's Brooklyn accent.
Yeah.
But yes, one of my favorites is probably, I'm gonna get emotional, but when he's in the dorm room and he's tied up to a chair, and his dad is outside the door talking, and talks about his spark and how he loves him and he believes in him. He'll do whatever he wants to do. He'll do it the best he can do. And then you get this climactic moment of him becoming the Spider-Man we know for himself anyway, or his version. And you get the whole jumping and swinging scene that was really like the wave kept going, and it just kept that high of the emotion leading to that. It was really well done, and I really enjoyed it every time I watch it. That's like, you get a little teary, of course, but it's worth it. It's good.
Yeah, and that's one of as much as this movie is sort of a comedy at heart, and it is a spoof on all the Spider-Man movies that have come before it as well. This movie has so much. This movie has so much heart. It really does. It has so many of those ground level emotional relatable moments, like you said, Justin. And yeah, that is so cool because as a dad, we're all dads here, right? But that part hits so well because you as a dad, you want to be the catalyst and the inspiration for the great things that your son or daughter is going to do. And that's exactly what that moment was. Like, Miles did not become Miles Morales unless his dad was in that moment. So, Isaac, another favorite moment.
I'm trying to decide now because there's so many good ones. So
all the way favorite.
To piggyback on what you said, Justin, there's 3 moments in this film that I cry almost every time I watch it. And granted, like, again, I've watched this movie probably 50 times at least. And every single time, this is where the tears start welling. Number 1 is when Peter A. Parker dies and everybody, like, he dies, that scene kind of ends, and then the next moment is that song plays and everybody's looking at their phones seeing the news that Peter Parker died. That part gets me every time. Like, so powerful. Number 2 is that moment you just mentioned when he's talking to his dad and he's like not saying anything, but his dad is just like, oof, man, that's another like father-son moment. Mm-hmm. And I've talked about it. I might have even talked about it on this podcast, but like before I became a dad, I don't think I had ever cried during a movie ever at all. But something broke in me when I became a parent, and now I cry during like every third movie or something like that. So
it's all good. It's all good.
But
with you.
So yeah, so the father
tingle, you know.
Yeah, the father-son thing in that moment, and then my absolute favorite moment during the entire film is the time that like actual tears start coming, is when they're fighting and everything. All of the other Spider people get sent to their home. It's just Peter B. Parker and Miles left, and Peter B. Parker's like, "No, I got this. Like, I can't let Spider-Man die." And Miles is like, "Neither can I. You got to go home, man." And then he pulls the, trip move, and he's got Peter B. Parker, by his costume, and Peter B. like reaches up, like he's grabbing on Miles, like he doesn't want to go, and he looks into his eyes and he's like, what now I'm starting to get like emotional now here too. How do I know I'm not going to screw things up? And Miles says, you don't. It's a leap of faith. Like, obviously referring back to when he told Miles it was a leap of faith to know that he was Spider-Man. And oof, man, the
feels,
the emotions, the feels that I get during that moment. Oh, it's so much. And then Peter like looks up at him and smiles. And this is another kind of like father-son moment. Obviously Peter B is not his dad, but like you just see the pride in Peter B Parker as he's looking at Miles, and he's like, all right, that's it. Like, and then he's ready to go home.
You also see that like he in that moment he knows that like Miles has got this work.
Yeah,
like,
right, exactly. He's like he has full trust in Miles after that moment. He's like, all right, you got this, man. And I'm going to go back to my world and try not to screw things up, like I just said. So, but yeah, just the leap of faith correlation, coming back to that moment again. Yeah. Hits every single time. Every single time I watch it.
Can I jump in real quick? Yeah. So that moment, how much more powerful is that moment after? So we've talked about the father-son doorway talk. But right before that is the lead up to it, right? Right before that is the moment where Miles wants to prove himself. Miles, he's angry. His uncle has just died. He wants to be the guy who solves the problem. He thinks he's ready. And that's the moment where he gets tripped and prove that, hey, buddy, you're not ready. You don't have it just yet. And like the catalyst event, right, is the doorway talk with his dad. His father coming and being just a good father, like, which is awesome, right? That's another huge moment in this movie. We get to see a phenomenal father figure in 3 people. Peter A. Parker, willing and accepting to take on a young student to try and teach him the ropes. And then we have that his death moment where that's oh no, what now? Then we have Peter B. Parker coming into the scene and totally shooting that down. Yeah, no, that ain't me, kid. I am not the hero. You're not going to look up to me. You don't understand. You don't want this life. And ultimately that turns into another sort of father figure, or at least a role model figure. And then, but yeah, without that first scene where you have all of the rest of the Spider gang hanging out literally on the wall outside the window while Peter B. Parker says, Miles, you're not ready. Emotional scene. And then to come back full circle to I am ready now. Like, for me, that was the big payoff. So I'm right there with you. Like, that is a super emotional moment for me.
Well, yeah,
when I watch it, you just get like, oh, okay, he got it.
That moment doesn't have the power, like you're saying, if you don't have that preceding like conversation and that like, hey, you're not ready, man. And then he shows him that he is ready and that he's good. He's gonna be able to take over as Spider-Man, and not just that he is able to make sure that Peter goes back to his own reality and takes care of the things that he's got going on in his life too. So yeah,
he can comfortably hand off that mantle to Miles and be like, okay. And yeah, you get that awesome scene where he's like, you see it in his face, right? And this is all animated. Like that's the best part. Like, the animation sells it because you see it in their face, all of the emotion as Miles is holding him by the chest over the quantum whatever, the portal, and you just see like he goes from I'm not ready, I don't know what I'm doing. This is Peter B. Parker. I'm not ready, I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm worried. And like you just see his whole like kind of visage relax, and he's like, okay. Okay, I trust that I've done what I can. You know what you're doing, and I just can't know everything. Yeah. And the animations, like, they sell it.
Oh, it's top
notch. Which is wild.
So good.
Justin, one more quick favorite moment, and then I will move us on.
What's his name? Porky.
Ham.
Spider-Ham? Porky Pig?
John Mulaney.
Well, hey, he does say that's all, folks, at the
Peter
end.
Porker.
Spider-Ham. This guy pulls out a mallet, and he's like, the guy's like, what are you, a cartoon? He's like, what's wrong with cartoons? And then he kicks this guy's butt. So like,
iconic moment.
Yeah. I love that character. I don't care. Spider Pig. It's a thing.
I've used the GIF of that quote specifically. You got a problem with cartoons to people on the internet who are like trashing animated movies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
this is not the way. It's not the way. Before we move to overall plot, best line in the whole movie was that one worker when they were stealing the computer and Peter B. Parker grabs a bagel, and this one worker has no idea that what they are stealing, the computer, is actually right. And then she's like, "Get him! He stole a bagel!" And it was just, I was dying. It was so funny. Anyway,
that every single person in that room whips out a giant gun.
Yeah, and it's just because they stole a bagel. Laser guns. Yeah. All right, let's get into a little bit of the overall plot, overall story. So obviously Miles doesn't have his powers at the beginning, and then he goes on a really, I think, impactful trip with his uncle. Who takes him to this abandoned sort of train station area or whatever to do some graffiti. And what Miles creates is just tremendous. It looks awesome. And then he gets bit by a spider. So let's go into that a little bit. Joe, you sort of mentioned this already, that it's one of your favorite moments, like dealing with Spider, the spider powers, coming to him. But
yes. I love this
Miles
scene.
is going into it right now. So
yeah, I absolutely love the scene. I love the animation. I love the way that they did the movie, how they do like the comic book style. You get the dot point, and then you get like this 3D effect with it. I just watched it in 4K for the first time. It was HD before then. This moment, the expectations moment, is what I like to call it, and that's because of his big graffiti thing that he does. Mm-hmm. Huge for me. Like, I love this scene. I love that he has that person in his life, and he truly is the uncle figure, right? It's the epitome of what you think of as like a funkle. Like, he's the guy who he can go to when life at home gets hard. That's his escape, and he encourages him, even though at this point we don't know his uncle's the bad guy, but like, we come to find that out, and he's still a good uncle. So we know that he's a good person from this moment, the I got you moment. Hey, things at home are tough. I got you. Come on, let's go. Like, we're gonna work things out. We're gonna talk things out. We're gonna get your emotions out, and we're gonna work through them. And they physically work through them. He allows him a space, a safe place to work through his emotions and the things he's dealing with by getting him out, literally and figuratively, on this wall. The expectations that his father has for him on his life, right? That's what it's about. And to visually show that in this scene I don't think there's a better moment in like any animated film that I've seen, or really any films where they show this like depth of thought and then are able to put it out for us to see it. Like, it's huge.
Yeah, so Justin certainly comment on that, but also moving forward, Miles was given a flash drive from Peter A. Parker, and he was tasked to destroy this sort of time thing that, or this like multi-dimensional device that Kingpin and we come to find out Doc Ock is in this as well, build. But he sort of messes up, doesn't he, just?
Yeah, he makes a promise to the original Spider-Man, and ends up getting chased by Prowler. Spoilers, his uncle. And
We're in spoiler territory.
yeah, and he ends up cracking the flash drive in half, pretty much, breaking it entirely. Getting away from Prowler, I don't know how, but he does. And yeah, so he's kind of like in a sticky situation. No pun intended.
Pun was definitely intended. I'm calling you out on that. So Isaac, Miles, the cool thing about Miles is that even though you get to the point where Peter B. Parker tells him that, hey, you just don't have it yet, kid, he still has always been willing and wanting to help. And so him and Peter B. Parker go over to Doc Ock's little place and try to steal another version of this flash drive.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is a great, like, the whole introduction and like, initial meeting of Miles and Peter B. Parker and their introduction to their relationship is just fantastic. It's so funny, and it's basically everything that you kind of would expect from their initial meeting, where Peter B. was like, "Nah, this is not what I'm about to do." But man, the feelings that he starts getting as Miles shows that initiative that you talked about. He tells him to be the lookout. Miles goes and, gets in the vent right next to him anyways, and he's like, this is kind of nice, actually. It's kind of nice to have somebody doing this instead of doing it by myself all the time. But yeah, and then they get into the fight with Doc Ock, which again, like the Spider-Verse was a thing like before, this movie. In the comics, there's a Spider-Verse run and everything, but this movie did such an incredible job at showing the characters that we kind of know and love from the comics and their like different like multiversal variants. Like Doc Ock in this universe is incredible. She's just an amazing adaptation of the Dr. Octopus character. And man, it was a treat to get to see all of these different variants, and that whole interaction is just hilarious. And one of my favorite parts of Peter B. Parker fighting is when he's fighting Doc Ock in that room and Miles is running away invisible with the monitor and the computer, and he's like, everything is fine, as he's getting his butt handed to him in the room, and he's just like, right. I got this, don't worry about it, Miles.
and
oh
like
my gosh, it's so funny.
I don't think you get that good of a Peter B. Parker unless it's Jake Johnson. Like he was literally the perfect voice casting here.
Absolutely.
So then, they're running away. Miles has the monitor. Peter B. Parker's like, hey, we don't need this. He tosses it aside. And then they run. There's the bagel scene. And then Gwen Stacy is introduced at this moment. And we have already met her in this movie.
Yeah, in costume, she is introduced here because they are cornered pretty much. They're kind of beaten down in the woods. And lo and behold, here comes another Spider-Woman to save the day. Gwen Stacy comes in and tells her backstory, which is the only one, in my opinion, I think, that went back in time. That she came back like a week in advance because of this.
I think everybody came a week in advance, but they just didn't introduce the others until they were in the Spidey cave. Am I wrong there? It could be.
I think they make a point when they're right. I think they make a point when they're introducing her to say that she came back in the past, like a week before she was in her present. But
she went back in time a week or something. That's what she said.
Yeah.
I just think that would assume that the others came back in time as well. Maybe.
Yeah,
that's my.
She's
thought.
the only one they really go into detail.
Yeah.
So who knows? Could be.
But regardless, we're watching it. My daughter's here watching it. She's excited already because there's multiple Spider-Mans on the screen. And then all of a sudden, a female Spider-Man shows up, and she goes bananas.
How many Gwen Stacy toys you got now?
It's next year's Halloween. But the art direction for her is fantastic.
That's awesome.
Like literally the art direction.
Trying to get not a glare on it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. The art direction for her suit, her hood, her pink tint, it was perfect, and it looked so well, especially backed with Gwen with the voice. Who was this voice?
Haley Steinfeld.
Haley Steinfeld.
Perfect.
Yeah, so perfect. So perfect. Like almost like I couldn't even think of someone better to play that part. But like she comes in and is already a BA Spider-Woman. Like she doesn't need no training. She knows what's up, and she's ready to go. She's done it before. So awesome to introduce another variant, which is another gender, which is really cool. For a lot of fans, for sure.
Yeah, and just like Miles, his reaction to the fact that her name's not Gwanda, it's Gwen, you know, and all that. It's just like really perfect. Her introduction was so on point, especially just like you sort of had this. You knew that it was Gwen Stacy when she was like, "Oh, my name's Gwanda," you know, like you knew if you're a Spider-Man fan, but you didn't know how they were going to introduce her, and I thought it worked out so well. Joe, they are on the way. They have the computer. They want to create a new flash drive, but they need an Aunt May to do it. So they visit this world's Aunt May.
Yeah, we're in a world where Aunt May exists. So yeah, they find they need a new doohickey, right? A thingamajig, a whatchamacallit, a gizmo, a gadget,
a goober.
And
Peter B. Parker calls it a goober.
Yeah, there's always a thing.
Yeah.
And so they find, yes, thankfully in this universe, in Miles Morales' universe, we have Aunt May, who just has the absolute bat cave of garages. This thing is just specced out. Literally the jet, the cars, the everything, 17 different suits.
All the suits. Oh, man.
Yeah. That scene where they just like, here's this panoramic shot of all of these suits.
Was that cape a nod to Doctor Strange's cape, or is there a Spider-Man that has a cape?
I think it was a reference to that. It definitely like there are other variants, right? Like of Spider-Man that have interacted with Strange before, but like, and this was before, you know, like the MCU version of Spider-Man and all that good stuff. But just, I mean, well, actually, Homecoming came out first, but before he interacted with Doctor Strange and all that good stuff. But yeah, I think that is a reference to that. But all the suit, man, this was like, as a Spider-Man fan, the suits were just like a smorgasbord of Easter eggs. It was so cool to see.
Well, yeah, they even had the PS4 Spider-Man.
Yeah, had the PS4 Spider-Man, had so many different comic book suits. They had the MCU suit in there. Like they had everything. It was, oh man, it was so good to see all of those.
So yeah, Joe, Aunt May is introduced. We got the other Spider-Man introduced. And yeah, they have this team of spider people. They're going to create the flash drive again. And then the Sinister Six, you know, quote unquote, the Sinister Five, the bad guys, they come along and they find them at Aunt May's house.
And ensues a great battle scene. The first one where we get to see kind of all these different variants fight, and Miles is like second interaction, but really first interaction where he is told not to do anything and he steps up again. Or kind of steps up again. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know what to say about it. It's just it's a great scene. Aunt May's like, you take it outside. So there's a lot of humor in here. She's like, really, great. In my house? Can we not do this here?
Yeah. And side note, prior to Aunt May like saying that, we got a reference earlier in the movie when we get Doc Ock. She says, "Only my friends call me Liv," and Aunt May calls her Liv, which is an interesting. Like, we don't get anything beyond that. Like, it's just just a little nod.
Yeah, she does.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, for some reason, I took it as sort of an insult that maybe she knows.
It could have been, right?
Maybe she knows that she does not like being called Liv unless it's a certain person.
Right.
That's how I took it. But Justin and Isaac certainly comment on this. This is certainly a turning point moment because the Prowler is here. He is revealed to Miles as, or rather, Miles is revealed to the Prowler as, Spider-Man, and his uncle's there too. And his uncle's the Prowler, and Kingpin shoots him. Kingpin shoots him in the back. Justin, what did you think about this moment?
Emotional. No matter who the Prowler was, or like if he was a bad guy or a good guy, he was still family. He was still uncle. And that's a line that's played even later on. Like, your family's always there. So this was an emotional moment of him realizing, regardless to if he was bad 10 minutes beforehand, he's still family and he's losing a family member.
Yeah.
so it's sad for sure, but it also only makes Miles more angry with people. It really fuels that fire for the rest of this film. Which in turn is one of the point like reasons he gets his ability, he grows, and because of these emotions that fuels it. So
yeah, I think the most important part about this is that he saw his uncle as that confidant to bring the Spider-Man information to, because being Spider-Man, he knows that it is above the pay grade of his father, who is in the NYPD, right? Like, and he saw his uncle as somebody who he could probably confide in at a later moment about all this Spider-Man stuff, and his uncle would understand. But Isaac, he loses that opportunity, and he does not see that opportunity in his dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and man, as we're speaking on Prowler, I want to just rewind a little bit. The musical soundtrack in this movie is probably one of the best soundtracks in a superhero movie ever. I would say probably my favorite in a superhero movie. Like, the soundtrack / score is incredible, and the Prowler score is fantastic.
Yeah.
It makes him a way scarier villain than he actually is.
Yeah.
Like, in the comics, he's basically just a burglar. Like, he's a prowler.
Yeah.
Like, he's not really anything special until you get to the Ultimate Comics with Miles and stuff like that. You know, it's a different character. But man, when they play that Prowler soundtrack, it's like scary. It's scary. I would put it up there with like one of the best villain scores of all time. Obviously, like Darth Vader's probably number one. Everybody knows the Imperial March and stuff like that. But like, man, beyond that, like it might be the second best villain score of all time. I thought it was incredible.
Man, Isaac's got some hot takes.
I got hot
today.
takes, guys. I always got hot takes. If you want to ever have me on for something to get a hot take on, I'm here for you. But so anyways, we go into it. Prowler. We kind of glossed over the moment where he goes into the Prowler's hideout and he finds out that his uncle is Prowler. But yeah, that moment also is, I know, like another terrifying moment. Probably because of the soundtrack just enhances everything through that. Like, he becomes invisible and he's like face to face with the Prowler, and then all of a sudden he takes off his mask and he's like, "Oh, it's my uncle! Can't believe it!" And then fast forward to this moment. All of that stuff leading up to it just makes this moment so powerful and emotional, like you said, Justin. And even though there are mixed emotions, because he's like, my uncle is a bad guy and he's working for the Kingpin, he still obviously loves his uncle and trusted him, like you were saying, Mike. Like, he would have probably come to him at some point with all the Spider-Man stuff if it weren't for him dying. So him being dead and stuff. But yeah, it definitely makes for an emotional moment. And then, and continuing on in that moment, I mean, he is with him in that alley, and then his dad shows up on the scene, like just as a cop, and he sees that something's going on. And this is actually the first moment in the film when you kind of get the sense that his dad knew that he was the Prowler. Like, and you really don't actually even get full clarification on that, but like, his dad goes over to him in the alley and he's like not shocked that he's the Prowler. And you're like, okay, that's why all of this like stuff has happened between them. It makes sense now that like he's a cop and he obviously doesn't approve of him being the Prowler. So, but man, yeah, just the moment that he has with his brother there is just another emotional moment on top of the one that he had with Miles right there. It's just adding right on to that.
Justin, you were chomping at the bit to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say...
Sorry, before I went on a tangent.
No, you're good. I was going to say, to back that family statement I said earlier, because at the end of this film, his dad, like Miles' dad and Miles make a mural for Miles' uncle. Like, even though they knew he was the Prowler, even though they knew he was a bad guy, they still made a mural in his honor for his death. So, family first.
Yeah.
I think bad guys are too much of a blanket statement, right? We always want to black and white things, and there's a lot of gray area, especially with the Prowler. Was he a bad guy? No, not really. He was actually what we saw of him, he was a really good guy. I mean, he was a great uncle to Aaron. The only bad moments were the Prowler moments, and even then, for most of his time on screen, they were good moments because you have two chase scenes, the one in the subway and then the one that leads to Aunt May's. And that's it. That's the only bad Prowler moments that we get. Other than that, we see him as in Prowler costume, but being a pretty understanding
Uncle Aaron.
Yeah.
Uncle Aaron.
You definitely, like, the very first, well, I guess it's probably not the first, but like towards the beginning of the movie when Kingpin is in the process of killing Peter A. Parker, you definitely get the sense that he has done some pretty shady stuff for Kingpin, because he's like ready to kill Peter for Kingpin, and then Kingpin does it himself. But coming back to this moment now, when Miles takes off his mask, I mean, he's like, oh no, like,
yeah, there's
like, I'm not, like, you see the humanity in him at that moment where he's like, oh no, this is family, this can't happen, like, I'm not gonna do this to my nephew, you know. And you definitely see and intertwine, like you were saying, Joe, like, we see all the good parts of him as Uncle Aaron for sure, and then even some as Prowler. But, like, I mean, he's definitely a bad guy, but you're right, blanket statement, because it's not black and white. Like, this is a good guy who does bad things, maybe got himself into bad situations and, like, owes Kingpin stuff. I don't know. Who knows what
Or he just likes money. Maybe his
that could be too. I mean, he's got a sweet apartment. He needs to, like, keep up that lifestyle. So
yeah, it's a pretty good apartment. So,
speaker system.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet. Like,
yeah. Anyway, moving forward, we've already talked about, Miles becoming Miles after his conversation with his dad. Well, after his listening to his dad behind a door. There's no conversation really. But then he becomes Miles, and then I think I just want to use these final moments of talking about the overall plot of, like, we have this fight at the end. It's awesome. You have this awesome villain in Kingpin, and he's big. I love his animation. Like, he's huge. They make him that way. And we have those moments, like, as Isaac mentioned earlier, we have those moments of, like,
right here.
Yeah, of, like, Miles holding Peter B. Parker over the multiverse teleporter, whatever. Portal? I don't know what it's called. Yeah, portal. There you go. So, but what I want to talk about is that, like, we know that everything, we know the end, Miles does win. I want to talk about the animation here, just as a final note, because Joe, this final battle is one of the best animated scenes of all time, in
Hands
my
down.
opinion.
No contest. I don't think there's a better looking animated scene out there. And that's, like, if you want to at me, feel free, but you better come with proof. Like, if you think there's a better animated any sort of scene than this fight scene at the end, please, like, show me.
I mean, here, I will push back here. The Lego movie is very special as far as animation is concerned, but those were made by the same people. So, I mean, like, it's the direction is both there.
Lego movie's okay. I'm not a big Lego movie fan, so
I think
I'll have a hot
crazy.
take here. It was all right. It was a decent movie, but I'm not real. I've seen it twice.
I still think Spiderverse is way better. So Justin, just, like, talk about some of the animation and the fights here.
I want to talk about some of the film. I can't talk today.
Cinematography.
That was the one.
Animation.
Yeah. There was I'm just going to cut to this one where he didn't have his abilities and he fell off a rooftop trying to jump, trying to take the leap. And it showed in words as he was falling down. They took that same shot, and then once he was Miles Morales, took it the other way and said woo going up. And it was the same shot but just different words as, like, a callback to where you failed, you picked yourself back up. and it was awesome. And the way that they filmed it, shot it, drew it,
animated it. Yep.
This fight scene at the end, though, geez, so much going on, so much action, so much explosion.
Yeah.
And then you've got emotions intertwined throughout. You've got this. I don't know her name. Now I feel bad.
Gwen Stacy?
No. It's the mech one.
Doc Ock?
Penny Parker.
Penny?
No, Penny.
Penny.
Yeah.
Her robot gets shot in the head, pretty much. It is down. And she is literally crying in the middle of a battlefield. And they prioritize getting her out first once they're able to let people go and you can go back home. It's just like excellent action and excellent drawing. Like the comic book styles thrown into the animation is just like top notch, and it's like shell shaded a little bit, so it pops.
It's all cell shaded.
Colors. I love it so much. And then like you get the final fight with Kingpin. I don't know if we got there yet. I don't think we have, but just
we're here.
Versus just Miles versus Kingpin, and you get the riding of a train like a snake through.
Oh man,
crazy stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you see the dad sitting on the side watching the whole thing happen, and the dad starts rooting on Spider-Man, Miles, to get back up because he sees what Kingpin is doing. Excellent. Like it's just about the intertwining of emotions and the action. It just like hits it so perfect.
100%.
That's why this is #1 on the animation.
Right.
Isaac, a quick note, please, on the final fight, and then we'll get to trivia.
I don't know if I can keep it quick for you. No, I'm just kidding. You guys have pretty much all hit on it. Like, fantastic animation. Everything is absolutely top notch, and I think you hit it, Mike. Like, I don't know if there's a better scene in animation that is better than that fight. Like, everything, the colors are just incredible. Everything just looks phenomenal. And I remember sitting in the theater watching this, and this whole movie was already a shock to me. But sitting here watching this movie, I was like, I'm like speechless because I number one, we haven't really seen this type of animation before, but the things that they're doing with that animation were just so incredible that I was like, how is this a thing right now? Like, it was something crazy to see for the first time. And in the theater, I really wish I could watch this in the theater one more time, but we'll get another treat with Across the Spiderverse when that comes out this year. But yeah, fantastic. And side note on the train scene with Kingpin, there's a moment where they're on the train and Kingpin starts seeing variants of his wife and son.
Yes.
And another top-notch animation. They're like glitching, which we've seen kind of throughout the whole film. One of those variants is basically Matthew Murdock. He's got red glasses. He's got a cane. Just like the nods that they give to comic book characters and like comics in general throughout this movie is just incredible. Like it's just a phenomenal overall movie, and being a comic book / superhero fan makes this movie so special to me. Like, just the time and care that they took to put into just the little tiny details in this movie. Just phenomenal.
I've never seen this Matt Murdock thing, and now I need to go watch it again.
Go look it up, man. Go look it up. It's like it's literally like a couple frames. Like
Okay.
I didn't notice it when I watched it the first couple times, but I saw it online. Had to look it up. It's great. Just a nice little nod.
Yeah. Joe, you're gonna say something quick. I see your mouth. It wants to move.
Nah, it does. It always wants to move, though. That's the problem. Just in this final scene, one of the things that I love the most about it is when they're fighting, when they're battling, for a majority of the battle, as they're winning, it's a very colorful, fun experience. And as soon as they're on top of the train and Miles is losing, all of the color disappears from the scene. They take all of it and everything starts turning black, and you get these black orbs and black whatever floating and taking over the whole space. I just thought that the way that they do these things it was unbelievable. Like even throughout that fight scene, like where the whole thing was colorful and fun and vibrant and insane, to make the mood change, the animation was what they used. They're like, okay, well, we'll just sap the color from it. And as all of this stuff kind of closes in, you feel that claustrophobic sense of, oh no, coupled with the, the scene and the music and everything going on. It's just so well done. The animation is really unbeatable.
And that's a really cool callback to earlier in the film when Peter A. Parker is fighting in the collider, when Goblin is like pushing him into the collider like streams or whatever you want to call them. Like everything gets dark and like just black, and you see like Spider-Man's face, and then boom, black, and then it goes back into like the different like multiversal Spider-Man stuff. But like they did a fantastic job. And man, like just to go on the same kind of tangent, like what this movie did with their animation was one that it's like a common like filmmaking rule: show me, don't tell me. They showed so much in this movie without explicitly stating what they were trying to get across to the audience. And this might be one of the best animated films out there to do this. Like they showed us everything that they were trying to tell us without, having a narrator over the top, oh, now this happened to Miles, and, all that stuff. Like, fantastic job of show me, don't tell me.
Justin, get us into a couple of trivias.
Yeah, I've got a few on animation and then one that's just awesome. Completing, because we were talking about animation a lot, completing the animation for this film required up to 180 animators, largest crew ever used by Sony Pictures for a film.
180 animators. Yikes.
Yeah. To eliminate motion blurs in the film, the majority of the animation was done in twos, meaning there were only 12 images per second rather than the usual 20.
Okay.
That's so smart. Okay.
Yeah.
Neat.
Okay.
During the coronavirus pandemic, Jake Johnson offered to record free personalized messages as Peter B. Parker for children under quarantine.
Oh my gosh.
What a guy.
Fantastic. That's so cool.
Of course, we got to end with this one because it's awesome. If you hit pause anytime a train goes by, because all the animators wanted to animate Stan Lee, he is in every single train.
Oh, that's
If
awesome.
you hit pause, a train goes by?
No, when the train goes by.
In the
When a
train
train.
scene. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stanley's on every train.
Okay. All right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow. That is awesome.
Okay, before we move on, I've got a couple of facts that are just on the top of my head to go along with this.
Go for it.
Okay,
It
you
is
mentioned
your favorite movie.
You
so-
mentioned the frames per second thing. So it's supposed to be animated like 24 frames per second. Excuse me, is like the kind of the standard for film these days. They animated a bunch of the movie in 12 frames per second to get that like kind of 2D 3D blend that they have. Miles specifically is animated in 12 frames per second for most of the movie until he receives his powers and fully becomes Spider-Man. Then he is in 24 frames per second the rest of the movie, because then he is less clumsy. Like they use that kind of stuttery like frame rate to make him seem kind of clumsy and like all foolish or
They
whatever.
Literally make him more fluid.
Yeah,
by
and then he's
adjusting
more
his frame
fluid
rate.
after he becomes Spider-Man.
That's really cool.
Like, okay, second one here, because this has got to be like the animation. Again, we've been talking about it this whole time. It took these animators, 180 animators, you said. Each second of the film took 1 week to complete. And obviously they're not like, doing like 1 second at a time. They're doing all of these like seconds and frames like concurrently. So, but still, Like, this movie took like 4 to 5 years to develop because of the complicated animation style. Each second took 1 week to complete.
That's ridiculous.
Like, it's wild. Like, that's why I say, like, this is groundbreaking animation and technology that it's changing animation moving forward. I don't know if you guys have heard of Mitchell's versus the Machines. Like, this is another film that's animated in the same style as Into the Spider-Verse. It's on Netflix, by the way. Fantastic movie. But this is like just, I mean, the Spider-Verse did, and the fact that they did it first too. Yeah. And it's like, there probably won't be another film to do this for a while until obviously the second one comes out. But like, to do it and use the technology and the animation to its full potential, like the Spider-Verse did, I don't know if there's going to be another film that's going to do it for a long time. So,
well, the second one comes out this year. So
I mean, besides the sequels that we're gonna get, but yeah, I mean, like, Mitchell's versus the Machines, fantastic, and the animation style is also incredible. But yeah, doesn't measure up to Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse is its own thing.
It's almost it's second to none in my opinion. So, we are going to give our rankings, and gentlemen, I have a surprise in honor of the Infinity Bro being on our podcast. We are doing 6 out of 6 today.
Hey.
For Into the Spider-Verse. Nice. All right, Joe, your rating 6 out of 6. Can we get an Infinity Snap on this panel?
It's a 6.
Okay, it's a 6.
Justin, it's not even a hard thought. It's a 6.
Justin,
I'm sitting at a solid 6.
He snapped. I heard the snap. All right, Isaac, I'm assuming it's a 6 out of 6 for you.
Yeah. There's no. We've already talked about it plenty. It's my favorite movie of all time. It's a 6 out of 6. There
it is, ladies and gentlemen. An honorary WhatTheFun Infinity Bro Infinity Snap. We got a 6 out of 6 all over the board. Yeah, this movie is. I think this might be my favorite animated movie of all time now. I still don't think it's the best Spider-Man, but I think it is the best animated movie of all time. So I will give you that, Isaac.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll take it.
Listeners, let us know what you thought of Into the Spider-Verse down below in the comment section. We would love to hear your thoughts on this amazing animated movie. Isaac, the Infinity Bros have been on a Last of Us tear recently. I've been listening. What else are the Infinity Bros and you specifically up to?
Well, I mean, we tend to be reviewing the latest, like, Marvel stuff is kind of our big thing, but, you know, we're waiting for Ant-Man, which is coming out actually tonight. I am going to the premiere tonight. So we'll be reviewing that. You can definitely check out on any audio podcast feed, the Infinity Bros podcast. We'll be reviewing that. And then Last of Us, like you said. I mean, we weren't even planning on reviewing The Last of Us, but the show is so stinking good that we were like, I think we have to review this. Like, it's fantastic. So, and that's from a podcast, and like, most of us are gamers, but I think only 2 out of the 6 of us have played The Last of Us. I'm one of the ones that have played The Last of Us, but only 2 of us have. But the rest of them were like, no, this show is so stinking good that we have to review it. So those are the big things that we're into. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Can't wait for that. That's kind of our jam. Is the MCU stuff. So
I will go as far as to say it is the best MCU podcast on the market. So go ahead and listen to them. I love them over there. So we'll have all their links down below in the description of this podcast. So go and check them out. Wonderful podcast of 6 bros that talk about Marvel, DC, superhero, and Last of Us recently as well. So speaking of Last of Us, we are going to be doing a season review on our end here, so stay tuned for that once the season wraps up. But without further ado, this has been our review of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, part of our favorite movie series, and we're so thankful, Isaac. Thank you again for jumping on to start off the community side of this series. So glad we got to podcast with you today.
been a blast, guys. And anytime you want to talk literally anything Spider-Man, I will be there for you.
All right, sounds good. For Justin the Duck, he's back and now he's leaving again. For Joe, for Mike, this has been What the Fun Show. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
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 Bye.